can the junior ever properly step in the shoes of the senior and continue its legacy? You see, the 600 Hornet reached a legendary status among riders, and this new 650, it has its work cut out to carry the family name. So, is the son better than the father? Or is it just another disappointment that pales in comparison?
In order to cast any judgment, we have to remember what made the original Hornet so good.
First, it looked amazing for its time. Compared to its rivals, this was simple, sleek and modern. I mean, heck, even today I would say the Hornet is a really good looking bike. And it wasn't all show and no go, it made about 100 horsepower from a creamy smooth inline-4 engine.
Funny, in the past I used to complain that all nakeds sounded the same because they were inline-4s, but nowadays with the advent of the parallel twin, I kinda appreciate hearing an old school 4-cylinder bike again.
You see, the 600 handled really well, was extremely reliable, it ticked so many boxes. It could literally be the right bike for 90% of riders out there. That's what made it special, legendary even.
So, does the new kid on the block have it in him, or is this one just flaunting the family name?
A bike needs to inspire you, to make you feel amazing just by looking at it. And the new Hornet is about as inspiring as a stale can of Coke. I know design is subjective, but really, when you try to please everyone, you kinda end up pleasing no one. There isn't one particular issue with its looks, but at the same time, there isn't anything particularly beautiful about it either. It's like a margherita pizza. It's not bad, but you'd almost always prefer a pepperoni.
If you think this video was more of a spicy pepperoni than a regular focaccia, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.
You see, Honda had two options. They could either take inspiration from the bigger brother, the CB1000R, or from the smaller one, the CB500.
Well, I don't think I need to mention which they ended up picking in the end, but it wasn't the right one.
And this hurts even more when you look at their lineup, and more specifically, they still sell the CB650R. I'm sorry, that one looks a million times better. And when you go past the looks, things get a bit confusing.
The thing is, they already had a good middleweight motorcycle in the form of the 650. And they haven't dropped it. They still sell both, which is odd. I mean, both that and the Hornet have 90-ish horsepower. They both serve the same purpose in the same class. And so based on totally different platforms?
And this is a bit weird. You don't really see that these days. It feels odd to me. The old bike looked better, they seem similar in specs. I mean, was there really a space for the new Hornet? I keep drawing comparisons between the OG Hornet and the new one. And to me, this one feels much tinier. I'm not a tall guy, but even I can feel as cramped as a Ryanair flight sometimes. I don't even want to imagine how a taller person would feel like. But with that, it's not particularly uncomfortable. My legs are a bit more bent than I would have liked, but what you lose in comfort, you gain in agility.
Honestly, this CB feels similar to the CB125R I rode a year ago. In a good way.
The wheelbase is short, the rake seems really steep, and that makes for a really TP motorcycle.
And on a road like this, TP is exactly what you want. Give it some tight twisties and you'll be giggling for days.
Unfortunately, on the same twisties, you also get to experience one of the bike's biggest flaws, its engine.
Actually, the engine itself is quite nice, but the fueling isn't. At low revs, this is really twitchy, and unpredictably so.
At times I can power out of a corner smoothly, at times I can't. And I can't seem to figure out the pattern. In fact, it almost flamed out on me a couple times when getting going from a stoplight. And then you get to hear it. This might be controversial, but in my opinion, it's a nice sounding parallel twin.
Sure, it's not as boring as some BMW twins, but it doesn't sound as nice high up in the revs as a CP2. This is subjective, sure, but it is my opinion.
Forgiveness is a tough thing to achieve, but I might just give Honda a pass on this one. While I have my issues with the fueling, the power plant feels pretty good.
This is the ideal amount of power. For a street bike, you can go full gas without killing yourself in an instant. It has enough torque from down low without being Super Duke levels of ridiculous.
I mean, look, it's such a balanced engine, and if the aftermarket can find a solution to the nasty fuel situation, this will turn into an amazing selling point.
Now, cheap bikes tend to also compromise on the suspension. It makes sense. The manufacturer can get some great savings from cheaping out on this department, and so did Honda, right?
Actually, I almost even forgot to mention them in this review. And that's good. On a budget bike, I expect to mention the suspension for being too soft, undersprung, for being a major drawback. But in this case, I can't say that. Look, it's no Öhlins, don't get me wrong, but there is nothing wrong with it.
Far from it. It didn't dive a lot under braking, it was compliant enough. I was really pleasantly surprised.
And then you have the brakes. The Nissan units will stop you and they pack some braking power, but I feel like I don't have much feel.
I don't know, I just don't have that direct feeling that I get from some higher-end Brembos. I mean, these aren't high-end Brembos, so that's most likely why.
At the end of the day, the original Hornet felt like budget quality.
It stood out as being well put together, well engineered, sturdy. This new one, don't get me wrong, it is good quality.
It just feels more plasticky. It suffers from some panel gap issues on the tank ornaments. While small, details like this could hold you back from purchasing a Hornet.
One thing that nobody can hold against the Honda is the price.
Where I live, this is an €8,550 bike. Brand new, from a big manufacturer. That's honestly pretty amazing, and it can forgive a lot of the Hornet's drawbacks. And in some way, it does pay respect to its father. That's what it became too, an affordable tool for a lot of riders. And this new one, it keeps that tradition.
And it's not like they made any big omission in order to hit the price point.
It has the right electronics, ABS, modes and all that jazz. Sure, it's not gifted with bling like cruise control or lean sensitive ABS, which would be nice.
But in reality, most of the stuff you want is here already. You kind of struggle to see where the compromises were made. They managed to really hide them well, and that's a pretty extraordinary thing.
At the end of the day, no matter what I think of the new Hornet, Honda will sell boatloads of them. They will be at every street corner, people will fight to buy them. Yet, this bike is not really for me.
I personally don't have a use for it, and it's a bit too bland for what I like in bikes.
That being said, I totally see why people will buy them. And in fact, I am not most people. So for most of you, I would say yeah. Get the Hornet.
Thanks a lot for watching this video. You can check this one on the Kawasaki Z650 for a slightly more approachable competitor. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, have a good one.